it's Talisha, and today I thought I would do my first ever Groom Tack Up and Ride with me video. I can't believe I've never done one of these before after being on YouTube for so long, but here you go. So the horse I am riding in this video is my new beautiful Warmblood. Well, she's the newest, I should say. I have had her since January of this year, so she's still fairly new, and we are still very much getting used to each other. So for those of you who don't know her, her name is Bambi. She is a 5-year-old Dutch Warmblood, still very green and new to a lot of things, but she is a very smart mare and picks up things very, very quickly. So yeah, I mean, that's a bit about Bambi. Here I'm just grooming her, giving her a nice old curry. She's a very affectionate mare, so she's always checking me out and seeing what I'm doing. She's very curious and just wants to know what's happening, so that's why you'll see her checking me out quite a lot of the time and watching me as I do things. And now I'm brushing her legs, getting all the mud off her, making sure she's all clean and nice. And especially those legs. She gets very dirty legs. And then the next thing I do is I brush her face. This is a separate brush, and I'm just brushing the dirt and mud off her head. She quite enjoys getting brushed on her head. You just need to find the right spots. She's a bit of a model horse, as you can see, posing for the camera. It's like she knows it's out and she's like, look at me. So now I'm brushing out her mane and tail and forelock. Now, I don't brush her tail out every ride. I don't like to do that with my horses just because I don't like to pull the hairs out so often, as every time you brush, you're bound to pull some hairs out. So I typically only do this once a week. And now I am picking out her hooves. Yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. I'll do all 4 of her hooves. Normally there's only a little bit of mud in there. They typically stay fairly clean. And now I'm ready to tack up. So I obviously am riding in a dressage saddle. I bought Bambi as my future dressage prospect, so that's what we do together if you guys aren't familiar with us. And before I get any questions about where my stirrups are, they are actually under the saddle flap. And the reason I do this is to protect my saddle. It was a tip my saddle fitter told me when I bought this saddle, as it's the first saddle I've ever bought brand new, and I bought it when I bought Bambi. And this way your stirrup leathers won't be scratching the top flap of your saddle, and this is actually allowed in competitions. In dressage and showing, it is perfectly legal, and you will, the gear check people won't say anything because it's allowed. The only thing that this isn't allowed for is pony club, which I obviously do, so I just change them back over when I'm doing pony club. But this way my saddle will last longer and will be less likely to get scratches. Now I'm trying to stretch out her legs after I've done her girth up. She is always so resistant with this, especially that leg. She's always just fights with me. She's so strange. And then this leg she'll do happily, but then you'll see once I let her go, she just leaves it there. And I'm like, Bambi, put it down. I'm done. Thank you. And I just do that to prevent the girth pinching her. Now I put her bell boots on. She has to be ridden in bell boots because she's quite a big moving horse and she's still so green. She constantly overreaches. So this is just to protect her from pulling a shoe or just from hitting her fetlocks. Or I should say coronet band more than fetlocks. Now I am putting on her boots. And I know not everyone uses leg protection for flat work, but I do, especially with a young horse like Bambi who is such a big mover and is still trying to work out what to do with her legs. Now, of course, helmet and gloves, and then I'm ready to put her bridle and bonnet on. I don't always ride her in a bonnet either, but for the purpose of this photo shoot and video and to be real matchy-matchy, I put a bonnet on her this day. Me still struggling to put my gloves on. Done. Okay, now I put the bonnet on her, and she just stands really happily. She's a very good baby. And time for the bridle. The bridle is a bridle from Prohorse. I have all the links for Prohorse in the description of this video, as well as a discount code. I love all of their gear. They do more than just bridles. It's pretty much a full saddlery. And I have a lot of their gear, and all of my horses has bridles from Prohorse. Favorite bridles I've ever had. And I just love the style of them. They have so many different types, And yeah, it's just unlimited supply and of styles. It's so hard to pick one. That's why all my horses have multiples, because I love them all. Alright, and now I'm just doing up the last latch on my bridle, and then we're ready to go. Yay. And of course, because I now have TikTok, link in the description of this video, I had to film a little part of one of my TikToks just before I got on. Bambi's like, what? You want me to stand? No, I just follow you. It's the hardest thing to get her to stand still when you're taking the photo because she just wants to follow you. But she managed to somewhat stand still, and she's like, what? What's happening? Are we going now? Can we do something? Let's go. Come on, Talisha, hurry up. Still getting used to all this social media stuff. She's like, what? And now we are off for our ride. Yay. Here I am just getting on her and sorting myself out. A little pat for Bambi. And we're ready to go. Let's go, Dad. So with all of my horses, no matter what age or experience they are, I always start them on a long rein in the walk and trot. Bambi has not done much of this prior to me owning her, so she struggles at the start of the ride to stretch down. However, this is a massive improvement to what she used to be like when I first got her, and as you can see, she's still not really wanting to stretch down. She's much more comfortable with her head in a higher frame. But it's so important for a horse to be able to stretch their neck down, so I do this at the start and end of every ride. Now I have shortened her up and we're ready to go. So on this ride, it was quite a simple ride. I didn't do anything, I didn't do any lateral work. I just worked on circles, changes of directions, and transitions. It was a very, very windy day as well, so I didn't want to overload her, and I have been doing so much lateral work with her at the moment, so this was just a bit of an easier ride, and she didn't have to think quite as much as she would if we were doing laterals. So one thing that I constantly focus on with Bambi is slowing her strides and shortening her strides. If you guys know Bambi from when I got her and just from past videos of her, you will know that she's a very big moving horse and naturally moves out quite large and beautiful. She moves really nicely, but we don't need that type of big flashy movement at the moment, and when she does move like that, she doesn't have the strength to hold herself correctly. So what I have been focusing on with her, is to just bring her back a bit, slow her strides and shorten her strides, because that's something that doesn't come easy to her. She would just rather move really largely and beautifully, but she just doesn't have the strength to do that in a correct way at the moment. So she's doing really, really well on this, and as you can see, she's moving a lot more controlled. She's slowing down. She's starting to sit on her hindquarters a bit more, especially the canter. She really struggled with her canter and has only recently been able to pick up her leads correctly without disuniting, because she's finally strong enough. But yeah, so she's not moving really big or anything super flashy, but she's moving correctly, and that's all that matters. The big flashy movement is something that's super easy to get with her, so at the moment it's not something I ride her at often, because we need this type of strength that she has here, which she still isn't obviously super established in, but she's a lot better and working a lot nicer than she does when she just lets go and trots the house down. But in the future, of course, we'll introduce those bigger trots and flashy canters again, but it's not something I need to worry about too much, because it's not something they care about at the lower levels, and when we do start to move up the levels, it'll always be something that will be super easy to achieve with her, because she's just naturally such a big flashy mover. So I'm super proud with how she has come along with shortening her strides and trotting in a more of a working trot than a lengthened or extended trot, because that's typically how she would go around if she could choose. And she's starting to engage her hind end a lot more. She's not hollowing her back. Not that she ever did hollow her back, but sometimes if she would you know, trot quite largely, she'd start to lose that connection through the back. And now she's just really getting the strength through her top line to hold herself a lot better. And because she wasn't in much work when I had bought her, so they just didn't have the time for her. So if they were riding her as often as they could have been if they had the time, she would have been at this stage. Like, they did such an amazing job with her, but it's just because they didn't have the time to be riding her all the time like I do now. So she just didn't have the strength for that reason, but she had all this amazing foundations. I just was able to continue it with more training and more time to put into her. But she picks up on things super quickly. She's such a smart mare, and she really just aims to please her rider. She's such a hard-working horse, and yeah, she's just awesome. And her trot's slightly bigger there because I felt her working nicely, so I just pushed her out a little bit more, but I didn't want to push her out too far because I wanted to make sure she was still working nicely and engaging herself properly. And she gave me some really nice little tiny lengthens, just something little. And once, in a few months' time, when she builds up her strength, maybe we can push her out a bit more for a bigger trot. But at the moment, we're just focusing on the prelim novice level things. And here I am letting her stretch out again. She always does it a lot better at the end of the ride, as you can see here. And she just, does it really nicely here. She's getting better and better with lengthening her neck out. It's just not something that comes naturally to her. She has that really nice uphill frame, which is perfect for a dressage test, but in order to build a really nice top line, they need to be able to stretch down long and low. And that's our ride. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you want me to do another one on my other two horses, let me know, and which horse you want to see next. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye!